Imagine a pipe bursts in your house at 2 in the morning. Water is spreading across the floor. You don't have time to compare 10 plumbing companies. You don't want to learn how to fix it yourself. And you're definitely not waiting until next month for someone to help. You want one thing, someone who can fix the problem. And you'll probably pay a lot more for that solution than you would for an ordinary service. That is what makes the plumbing business so interesting. Because on the surface, it's simply a skilled person fixing pipes. But underneath that is a powerful business model built around something almost every building eventually needs: maintenance, repairs, and emergencies. And unlike many businesses, a plumbing company isn't always selling something customers want. Sometimes it's selling something customers desperately need. But that doesn't automatically make plumbing a great business. The company still has to find customers. It needs skilled plumbers. It needs vehicles and equipment. It needs to price jobs correctly. It needs to respond quickly. And it needs enough work coming in to keep expensive, skilled labor productive. So how does the business actually make money? Why can one plumbing company become extremely profitable while another is constantly struggling? And most importantly, what has to be true for a plumbing business to work? If you enjoy breaking down the businesses hiding in plain sight, subscribe. Because on this channel, we take ordinary businesses and uncover the strategy that makes them work. Let's start with what the customer is actually buying. At first, the answer seems obvious. A plumbing company sells plumbing work. But that's not really what the customer is buying. A homeowner with a leaking pipe isn't thinking, "I need 2 hours of plumbing labor." They're thinking, "I need this problem gone." That's an important distinction. The plumber is selling an outcome. The customer wants a working toilet, a repaired pipe, a functioning water heater, a drain that isn't blocked, a leak that has stopped, or an emergency that has been brought under control. And the more serious the problem becomes, the more valuable that outcome can be. This is why plumbing has an unusual pricing dynamic. When nothing is wrong, a homeowner may not care about plumbing at all. But when water is pouring through the ceiling, the value of solving the problem changes dramatically. The customer isn't buying a pipe, they're buying certainty. They're paying someone who knows what to do, and that expertise is the foundation of the business. A plumbing company can serve several different customer groups: homeowners, landlords, property managers, restaurants, offices, hotels, factories, construction companies, real estate developers, and other businesses that depend on functioning plumbing systems. These customers have different needs. A homeowner might call once every few years. A property manager might have dozens of properties requiring service. A commercial customer might need ongoing maintenance, and a construction company might need plumbers throughout an entire project. This creates an important strategic choice. Should the business focus on emergency calls, residential repairs, commercial contracts, new construction, maintenance, or some combination? Each model has different economics. Emergency plumbing can generate high-value jobs, but demand can be unpredictable. Maintenance contracts can create recurring revenue, but they may require lower pricing in exchange for predictable work. Construction can produce large contracts, but competition and project complexity can be significant. So the plumbing company isn't simply selling plumbing. It's choosing which plumbing problems it wants to solve and for whom. The basic revenue formula is number of jobs times average revenue per job equals revenue. But there are several ways to increase that number. First, get more customers. Second, increase the average value of each job. Third, increase repeat business. And fourth, build recurring commercial or maintenance contracts. Imagine a plumber completes 5 jobs in a day. If the average job produces $250 in revenue, that's $1,250 in daily revenue. But suppose the average job becomes $400. Now the same 5 jobs generate $2,000. The plumber hasn't necessarily worked more hours. The business has simply increased the value generated from its available capacity. This is why service mix matters. A company may offer drain cleaning, leak repairs, water heater installation, pipe replacement, fixture installation, sewer work, emergency repairs, maintenance, and larger plumbing projects. The objective isn't to sell unnecessary work. It's to build enough expertise and capability to solve more valuable customer problems. But there's another important revenue source: recurring customers. Imagine a property management company owns 100 rental units. Things break. Toilets clog, pipes leak, water heaters fail, fixtures need replacement. Instead of finding a new plumber every time, the property manager could establish a relationship with one company. Now the plumbing company has something valuable: a recurring source of demand. The same thing can happen with restaurants, offices, hotels, apartment buildings, and other commercial properties. This can make revenue more predictable. And predictability matters, because one of the biggest challenges in a service business is uncertainty. If you don't know where next month's jobs are coming from, hiring becomes difficult. Should you hire another plumber? What if there isn't enough work? Should you buy another vehicle? What if the demand disappears? Recurring contracts reduce some of that uncertainty. They turn, "we hope someone calls," into, "we know this customer needs us." And that can dramatically improve planning. But there is still a major problem. A plumbing company may not need a huge storefront, but it has other significant costs. Skilled labor, vehicles, fuel, tools, equipment, insurance, licensing, training, parts and materials, software, office staff, marketing, emergency availability, and inventory. The plumber may arrive at a customer's house with a vehicle containing hundreds or thousands of dollars worth of tools and parts. That vehicle is part of the production system, so the business has to keep that system productive. A plumber sitting at home waiting for a call isn't generating revenue. A truck sitting in a parking lot isn't generating revenue. Expensive equipment that isn't being used isn't generating revenue. This creates a fundamental question. How do you keep skilled labor and expensive assets productive without sacrificing response time? And that brings us to one of the biggest challenges in the business. Let's follow one plumbing job. A customer calls. Someone answers the phone. The company schedules a plumber. The plumber drives to the property. They diagnose the problem. They provide a solution. They use parts. They complete the work. The customer pays. Now subtract the costs. The plumber's labor, fuel, vehicle costs, parts, insurance, administrative expenses, payment processing, and the cost of acquiring the customer. What remains? That's the contribution from the job. And this is where plumbing businesses can make a major mistake. They look at the invoice and see $500. It sounds like a $500 sale, but it isn't. The business needs to ask, how much did it actually cost to generate that $500? And another question is even more important. How much time did the job consume? A $500 job that takes 1 hour is very different from a $500 job that consumes an entire day. So plumbing economics aren't just about revenue per job, they're about revenue per productive hour. That's a critical number. And this brings us to the plumbing business's most valuable resource, skilled plumber time. You can buy another truck, you can buy more tools, you can increase advertising, but you can't instantly create an experienced plumber. Training takes time, experience takes years, and skilled workers are limited. So if a plumbing company has 10 plumbers but only enough work for 6, 4 people's capacity is underutilized. But if the company suddenly receives 50 emergency calls and only has 10 plumbers, now demand exceeds capacity, customers wait, jobs get delayed, the company may lose opportunities, and employees become overwhelmed. So the business is constantly balancing demand against skilled labor capacity. This is why lead generation and hiring have to grow together. Getting customers is good. Getting more customers than you can serve is not always good. And this leads to one of the most important concepts in plumbing, response time. Imagine 2 plumbing companies. Company A says, "We can come next Tuesday." Company B says, "We can have someone there within an hour." If water is pouring into your house, which one are you calling? This is why speed can become a competitive advantage, especially for emergency plumbing. The customer isn't simply choosing based on price. They're choosing based on who can solve the problem fastest. That creates an interesting economic trade-off. A plumbing company may need plumbers available during periods when there isn't constant demand. That's expensive. But being available when competitors aren't can justify premium pricing. So, emergency plumbing is partly a business of availability. You're selling access to expertise when the customer needs it most, and that creates an opportunity for premium pricing. But speed alone isn't enough. The company has to be trustworthy. Think about what a customer is allowing a plumber to do. They're allowing a stranger into their home. They're allowing them to work on something critical, and they may not know enough about plumbing to judge whether every recommendation is necessary. That creates an enormous trust gap. The customer needs to believe. The plumber knows what they're doing. The price is fair. The work will be done correctly. The plumber will show up when promised. The company will stand behind the work, and the problem won't return tomorrow. This is why reputation can be incredibly valuable. Reviews, referrals, professional appearance, clear pricing, good communication, licensing and credentials, warranties, reliable service. All of these reduce customer uncertainty, and when a customer is dealing with an emergency, reducing uncertainty is extremely valuable. Now we reach the central question. What has to be true for a plumbing business to work? Number 1, there must be enough local demand. Buildings constantly need plumbing repairs and maintenance, but the company still needs enough customers within its service area. Number 2, the business must have access to skilled plumbers. Demand doesn't matter if you can't fulfill the work. The ability to recruit, train, and retain good plumbers is a competitive advantage. Number 3, pricing must reflect the true cost of service. The price needs to cover labor, travel, parts, vehicles, insurance, administration, overhead, and profit. Underpricing can create a very busy but unprofitable business. Number 4, productive hours must be maximized. A plumber's time is limited. Long travel distances, poor scheduling, cancellations, waiting, and inefficient jobs can destroy productivity. Number 5, the company must build trust. Customers need confidence that the company will solve the problem properly. Trust leads to referrals. Referrals reduce acquisition costs, and repeat customers become more valuable over time. Number 6, the business needs repeatable demand. Residential customers may call occasionally. Commercial customers and property managers can create much more predictable demand. The right customer mix can stabilize the business. Number 7, emergency response must be economically viable. If the company promises 24/7 service, it needs a business model that supports that availability. You can't simply promise instant service without considering the labor and operational costs involved. Number 8, the business must eventually operate without the owner. If every important decision requires the owner, the company isn't truly scalable. The owner needs systems, managers, and processes. And that's where the real strategy begins. If I were building a plumbing company from scratch, I wouldn't begin by buying 5 trucks. I'd begin with one market, and I'd figure out where the demand is. Step 1, choose the customer: residential homeowners, property managers, restaurants, commercial buildings, construction companies. The ideal customer isn't necessarily the one who pays the most. It's the one whose needs fit your capabilities and create attractive economics. A property manager with 100 units could potentially be more valuable than dozens of random one-time customers, because the relationship can create recurring demand. Step 2, build a reputation early on. Reputation is an asset. Every job is an opportunity to create a review, a referral, a repeat customer, or a relationship. If the company consistently arrives on time, communicates clearly, solves problems properly, and charges fairly, customers remember, and eventually the brand begins doing part of the sales work for you. Step 3, control the service area. Don't try to serve an entire city immediately. Start with a manageable area. Why? Because travel time costs money. A plumber driving for an hour isn't doing billable plumbing work. The closer jobs are to each other, the more productive the day can become. So geographic density matters. Step 4, build a strong service mix. You don't want the entire business dependent on one type of job. Emergency repairs can generate high-value demand. Maintenance can create recurring revenue. Installations can produce larger invoices. Commercial contracts can provide predictable work. A healthy service mix can make the business more resilient. Here's an interesting opportunity. A customer calls because of a leaking pipe. The plumber fixes it. The immediate problem is solved. But the relationship doesn't have to end there. The company can maintain a customer record, follow up, provide maintenance recommendations, offer additional legitimate services when appropriate, and make it easy for the customer to call again. The goal isn't to manufacture problems. It's to become the customer's trusted plumbing company. Then the next time something goes wrong, they don't search Google again. They call you. That is customer lifetime value. Now let's apply the 3 levels. Level 1, understand. Understand the local market. Understand the customer. Understand pricing. Understand labor costs. Understand travel time. Understand service demand. Understand competitors. Understand which jobs are actually profitable. Without this information, you're guessing. Level 2, build the operation. Get the right licensing and insurance. Hire or partner with skilled plumbers. Set pricing. Acquire customers. Create service procedures. Equip the vehicles, set up scheduling, build a reputation, create repeatable processes. Now you have a plumbing company. But there's still another level. Level 3, optimize now. Ask, can plumbers spend more time working and less time driving? Can scheduling improve? Can emergency calls be routed more efficiently? Can customer retention improve? Can commercial contracts increase? Can parts inventory be managed better? Can technicians be trained faster? Can customer communication become automated? Can managers handle daily operations? Can the owner step away? That's optimization. And eventually, that's what creates leverage. Imagine the owner disappears for 30 days. What happens? Do customers still call? Does someone answer the phone? Are jobs still scheduled? Are plumbers dispatched? Are parts available? Are invoices sent? Are payments collected? Are customer complaints handled? Are employees managed? Does the business continue generating revenue? If the answer is no, everything comes through me, then the owner doesn't own a system. The owner is the system. But if the company has a dispatcher, managers, standard procedures, scheduling software, customer records, maintenance systems, financial controls, and trained technicians, then something different exists. A business that can operate without the owner's constant presence. Now imagine the first service area works. You have strong demand, good plumbers, good reviews, healthy margins, predictable customers. Now you can ask, can this system be repeated? Can you add another team, another truck, another neighborhood, another city, another commercial contract? This is where the plumbing company can potentially move from a small operation to a larger service business. But scaling introduces a warning. More revenue doesn't automatically mean more profit. Every additional team requires more labor, more vehicles, more management, more insurance, more equipment, more coordination. So the goal isn't simply to grow, it's to grow while preserving the economics. So is plumbing a good business? It can be an extremely interesting one, because plumbing combines several powerful characteristics. People need it, buildings need it, problems keep appearing, some problems are urgent, customers value expertise, and many customers return to the same company once trust is established. But there are serious challenges. Skilled labor is expensive. Hiring can be difficult. Vehicles and equipment cost money. Emergency availability is demanding. Poor scheduling can destroy productivity. And a business built entirely around the owner's personal expertise is difficult to scale. So the real competitive advantage isn't simply being good at plumbing. It's being good at building a plumbing company. A company that can consistently acquire customers, dispatch skilled technicians, solve problems, collect payment, create repeat relationships, and deliver the service without everything depending on one person. That's the business. The wrench is just the tool. The next time you see a plumbing truck driving down the road, don't just think about the person inside fixing pipes. Think about the system behind that truck. Where did the customer come from? How much was the job worth? How long did it take? How far did the plumber drive? How much did the parts cost? How much did the company actually keep? And will that customer call the same company next time? Because that's the hidden economics of the plumbing business. The real product isn't a repaired pipe. It's certainty. It's knowing that when something goes wrong, someone qualified will show up and make it right. And the strongest plumbing businesses turn that need into a system. Customers create demand. Plumbers provide expertise. Systems coordinate the work. And the business turns urgent problems into recurring relationships. So the question isn't, can a plumbing business make money? The better question is, what has to be true for every plumber, every truck, every customer, and every hour of work to contribute to a profitable system? If you can answer that, you understand the business. And that's the real question behind every small business. What has to be true for this business to work? If you enjoyed breaking down the strategy behind this plumbing business, subscribe. We're going to keep taking ordinary businesses, pulling them apart, and uncovering the economic machines hiding underneath them. This is the business strategy behind everyday businesses, and I'll see you in the next one.